All right, welcome back. We were just discussing the idea that American citizens in Minneapolis have had to show identification, proof of citizenship. Here's what the mayor said about that today.
People are walking around on the street with their passports. That's not American. That's the furthest thing from it. Please take back to your respective constituencies and your colleagues the message of, if you love your own community, do not let this happen in ours.
I think you were saying, Tiffany, this is happening. We know that it's happening. We played earlier this week video of it. DHS says that they don't stop people unless they have reasonable suspicion. But we've seen enough cases to know that many people do not believe that they had reasonable suspicion, other than that they were walking down a street.
Social media is flooded with these videos, but even verified reporting outlets show this. And again, I have to go back to who are these people? Like, who are the people being employed? Tom Honan, who of course oversees this whole operation, has met with at least one member of the Proud Boys on 4 different occasions. This is according to social media posts monitored by Hate Watch and verified reporting. And so, yes, when you give a license to people who hold racist, xenophobic, ideological beliefs, and you unleash them on communities, regardless of if they're working with the federal government or not, you are emboldening these people to do that, then you are going to have all types of unlawful stops. And eventually, there have already been 16 shootings resulting in 4 people dying. Eventually, that number is going to balloon. It's going to swell. And I understand.
Is it possible, Tiffany, that that this is just a policy that they've put in place in order to catch a dragnet, and they've been emboldened to do it because the Supreme Court, in that writing by Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, seemed to indicate that what he called brief stops for citizenship checks would be okay. But Kavanaugh has addressed that subsequently, and a lot of people have pointed out that this is happening with frequency, and also that DHS seems to be taking it to a pretty far extent, where a Somali woman was stopped. People are being stopped because they're Uber drivers and maybe they're brown or black or whatever it is. That's where we are. I think it seems like it doesn't necessarily need to be racial animus. It can also be policy.
But it is policy informed by racial animus. And
well, but for the individual ICE agents.
But it's a disservice to not acknowledge that part. Yeah, I think that is a huge part of it.
I agree with part of what you're saying in that it seems like the agency itself is emboldened to, whenever law enforcement engages in public activity or public arrests or public involvement with violence with the public or restraining someone in public or a suspect, people on the streets videotape it. They're allowed to videotape it. They have a First Amendment right to gather on the streets and watch what goes down in public. And it seems from all the images coming out of Minnesota that ICE is extremely aggressive in responding to people exercising their First Amendment rights. And I think, Abby, you're right. I think maybe the administration is emboldened by the Supreme Court ruling, but the administration itself, the messaging they're giving by calling American citizens domestic terrorists, and Kristi Noem coming out the first day without any investigation or evidence and calling Renee, Nicole, thank you, the victim of that stop, a domestic terrorist who perished in her car. It's not messaging that should be coming out of these departments.
There's something else at play here that we are totally walking past, and that is there's a reason why Donald Trump sent more troops in even after the Miss Good got killed, is because and again, I don't want to be crass and bring this back to politics, but it is a lot about politics, is they want to have this fight. Anytime Donald Trump's talking about law and order or deporting illegal immigrants or doing something that, quote unquote, keeping America safe, that's where he wants to talk. So he's not talking about the issues that CNN's reporting today that he's underwater on, which is the economy.
But it seems like
crisis.
To that point, this is a complete miss for them, because instead they're being forced to justify constitutional violations of people's rights, their rights to protest, their right to live and walk around in their neighborhoods without having to produce proof of citizenship, for example.
Well, there's obviously a dispute about what is a legitimate protest and what is trying to impede and obstruct law enforcement in their duties. That's obviously a debate that's going on. Any idea how many people ICE has arrested and removed from Minneapolis in the last 5 weeks? 2,500 rapists, murderers, pedophiles,
How many?
gang members,
How many of the
20,
2,500 were
2,500,
rapists, murderers,
over
pedophiles?
2,500.
That's arrest. I don't
No,
think
that's
that
And
all.
so-
that's
and
total
so
arrest.
the
It
reason,
doesn't
so
seem
I mean,
you have,
No.
so you have
That's-
the
that's-
worst of the worst
Scott, that's
being
not the
removed.
number of all of those types of people, but just
That's
continue.
That's a
inaccurate.
pretty
And-
big coincidence that those 2,500 people have conviction records for those particular offenses.
It's inaccurate. And I honestly, Scott, when I say it's a lie or I'm saying someone is a liar, it is not meant to be an insult. It is
Well,
when you say things
well,
like
let me-
that, it's just
let me
not
just-
true.
let me just ask
I mean,
you,
if
Scott,
somebody's insulted,
is
that's
it-
okay,
is
but
the-
that's not my
is the
intention. I'm
number
saying
what it is.
well, it might be an insult,
Well,
but if you
let me
lie,
just give
then we
Scott
can
an
acknowledge that you're a
opportunity to
liar.
clarify. Are you saying
That's
that
a
the
lie.
number of people with serious violent criminal records is 2,500?
I'm telling you that according to the Department of Homeland Security and their official statements,
Yeah.
in the last 5 weeks, they have removed, quote, over 2,500 murderers, fraudsters, predators, and gang members, the worst of the
So
worst
have
from
they
Minnesota.
substantiated that all 2,500 of those people fall into those categories?
I'm reading you an
Because
official
there,
government
you
statement.
recognize
Thank
that there
goodness
are many
Kristi Noem never
people that are
lies.
being arrested that don't necessarily fit into those charges.
Well, I'm sure some people.
And that it would be important to know that before you characterize that such a large number of people.
Look,
as all being
Otherwise,
innocent.
that would be what we call a
it's your
liar.
right to call the government a liar.
No, I'm just.
If you want
I'm
to,
actually
I'm
not-
literally
I'm-
giving
I'm
you the
not-
official government data
All I'm
that they're
saying
saying
putting
is
is
out
not
there.
that
that,
the government lies.
I'm not calling them a liar. All I'm saying is
Right.
that I would like to see the actual hard numbers. They should release a list. They should release the charges, and we can see for ourselves what the divide is. And so if they were to do that, I'm not going to just go with a number that said the worst of the worst. That's not a charge. Okay? I want to know what people
Murder,
are charged with. I want to know
fraud,
what they're
predators,
convicted of, and I
rapists,
want to know the
gang
full
members.
list. And I've seen that they've released a shorter list of people that they've actually produced names and charges and all of that stuff. It's a shorter list, a much shorter list. But I have not seen a list of 2,500 people. And I think if that list existed, we would need to know that before we could go with that number being characterized as the worst of the worst being taken out of Minneapolis. Also, breaking tonight, Donald Trump is issuing nearly 24 new pardons, including more fraudsters. We'll discuss that.
Have I got news for you?